All right, so in this video, we're going to be talking about Mario Cristobal's post game conference comments regarding the state of Florida, two recruits, and basically a shot at the other Floridian programs that are in the Power Five today. Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes blew out. Well, they dominated Florida State. I wouldn't really say they blew them out because they didn't really become a blowout until late in the fourth quarter. But either way, they still defeated Florida State handily, as they were supposed to. Maybe not in the fashion that you would have liked if you're a Hurricanes fan, but they still beat Florida State in dominant fashion. And the reason why I'm putting this video on this channel is because what I'm about to talk about doesn't just apply to Florida State and UCF. This applies to Florida as well. So I'm going to put this video on this Gators channel. Mario Cristobal, I actually had basically said to all recruits nationwide, in-state and out-of-state, look at the trajectory that the University of Miami is on compared to the other schools in the state. Basically, for paraphrasing there. I don't have the exact quote, but at the exact quote, I didn't have a problem with what Mario Cristobal said because, well, he's right. I mean, Florida State's fallen off terribly. UCF has fallen back to irrelevance, like the irrelevant program that they historically have been, and the Gators are sputtering in the toilet bowl like they've been for the last 3 or 4 seasons. So I have no issue with him talking trash because you know what? He earned the right to do that. He blew out Florida and he dominated Florida State. It's the first time the Hurricanes have beaten both Florida State and Florida in the same year since the early 2000s. He earned the right to do that with the way he balled out this year. Now, he shouldn't get too big-headed because this is the same guy who was just getting blown out by Middle Tennessee 2 years ago and costing himself sure-handed victory against Georgia Tech and losing to Rutgers last year. So, enjoy your year now, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves there, Mario. You just had your first successful season in Miami. The last 2 years have been not too good to you. But regardless, you won last Saturday and you won against Florida. So you earned the right to talk. You've earned the right to talk. And I don't have a problem with what he said because Florida and Florida State put themselves in this position. Florida State with back-to-back bad hirings of Mike Novell and Willie Taggart. Florida with consistently failing to find a decent head coach. They put themselves in this position. And Mike Norvell, you have nothing but yourself to blame for being behind Miami. And Billy Napier, you have no one to blame but yourself for being behind Miami right now. So I'm not a fan of Mario Cristobal as a game day coach. Now, as far as a recruiter, I think he's one of the best in the nation. Maybe the best outside of Kirby Smart. But he has done what he was supposed to do. Utilize the resources that are available to him to build the best roster he possibly could in 2024 and to win as many games as he can in 2024. And he did that with Damian Martinez and Cam Ward, and he's built up in the trenches, both with recruiting and the transfer portal. The receivers, the pass catchers are plentiful in Miami right now. They have a very good roster, and they, granted, are benefiting from a weak ACC conference, but it's still a pretty good year for Miami by their standards concerning what they're used to, and they're a good team, and he earned the right to talk. So this message is really for all three of the other schools, is that, well, if you want, especially and for UCF case, if you want to prove that this is a Big Four state now because you're one of the big boys now that you're in the Power Five for a couple of years, you need to perform better than what you've done your first 2 seasons because you're 6-7 and you're in danger of missing a bowl game this year. I think you're 3-5 right now, so 2 more losses and that's it for you. Florida State, their chances of making a bowl game, in my opinion, died when they lost to Memphis. And Florida, even if they're going to beat Florida State at the end of the year to get themselves to 5 victories, but that loss to Tennessee really hurts you because at 5-2, all you would have to do is just beat Florida State and bam, you got your bowl game. And whatever win you get out of that would be the cherry on top. But this is the position that all 3 institutions, Florida State, UCF, and Florida, put themselves in. And now all 3 programs are now looking up at Florida State. The same way Miami, Florida, and UCF were all looking up at Florida State last year and the season before that. That's how it is in the state of Florida in college football. When if Miami and Florida goes down, Florida State is supposed to go up. They're supposed to take advantage of that. When Florida State and Miami are down, Florida is supposed to go up. When Florida and Florida State are going down, Miami is supposed to go up. That's how it works. That's the way it's been in this between the big three in this state for the last 30 years. When two of those teams go down, one team rises up, and it's been that way for a long time. When Urban Meyer was winning national titles at Florida, Florida State was starting to spiral with Florida State, and Miami was starting to spiral as well. When Florida State was winning national championships, both Miami and Florida were in bad stretches. And this year, Miami has caught Florida and Florida State at the perfect time, caught up to them and rose way above them. That's what they were expecting when they hired Mario Cristobal to begin with. And quite frankly, for Florida, as a Florida fan, I have no sympathy that you're in a tougher conference because you brag about being in the best conference in college football all the time. Then you don't get to complain about the competition. And Florida State, I definitely don't have sympathy for because I hate the Florida State brand. But you are in the ACC, so you should have it easier than Florida does. And with the way the fan base was crying about missing the postseason last year and going after Kirk Herbstreit on a 24/7 annual basis and talking bad about ESPN and suing the ACC to get out of that conference, and now they can't even win games in their conference. Not a fan base deserves the bad season that they're having more than them. It's perfectly befitting that a one-loss Florida State team that acted so entitled last year has now become a one-win football team, or at least one win until Charleston Southern comes around. Florida State plays North Carolina this upcoming Saturday, and North Carolina can at least put up some points. They just put up 41 points on Virginia last Saturday, so they should have no problem putting up points on Florida State. It's just that their defense is terrible. But anyways, Mario Cristobal did what he's supposed to do. You're supposed to trash talk your rival programs in the same state as you when you're up and they're on their way down. You're supposed to do that. I have no issue at all with Mario Cristobal just did. He did exactly what a good, at least even if he's not necessarily a good game day coach, you're supposed to do what a great college football recruiter, because that's what he is. You're doing what a great college football recruiter is supposed to do. And not only that, but Mario Cristobal played at Miami, so he hates Florida State and he hates Florida because that was during his times playing there. So he is able to infest that and permeate that energy to his football locker room. And you saw it when Miami has played both of these teams that year. He did what he's supposed to do. I have no issue at all with what Mario Cristobal just did. And maybe this is a wake-up call to not only the athletic director at Florida, but also at Florida State that, hey, we can't let Miami get too far ahead because it might be too late for us. You know, that's what happened with I'm using a out-of-state rivalry, for example, Clemson and South Carolina. South Carolina sputtering around in the toilet for so long that when Clemson rose up and became the national champions, they put their foot on South Carolina's neck, and guess what? The best recruits in the state, in the state of South Carolina, went to Clemson, and they absolutely made South Carolina an irrelevant program while their in-state team was winning national titles. That's what Oklahoma has also done to Oklahoma State. That's what you're supposed to do with your in-state rivals. Make them irrelevant while you're continuing to dominate again and again and again. That's what Alabama under Nick Saban did for a long time under Auburn. Yes, there were a couple of seasons where Auburn made an SEC title game, won an SEC title, won a national title with with Cam Newton, and, did upset Alabama a few times, but Alabama was always the number one program in the state because of Nick Saban, and it was always difficult for Auburn to rise above that. And now, even with it, it's gone to the point that Auburn has fallen off so bad that even without Nick Saban, Alabama is still miles ahead of the Tigers as a football program. And Mario Cristobal is seizing that opportunity right now with the Miami Hurricanes with what he is doing. What he's doing with the Miami Hurricanes, while Florida and Florida State are both determining whether or not they have the right head coach. That's just the way it is. So I got no issue with what Mario Cristobal did. I think he made the right move to trash talk all the programs in state. UCF is also they're not out of this conversation either. Their fan base is flat out booing Gus Malzahn every time they see him in public. They're on the verge of getting rid of him as well. So I think I think Mario Cristobal is doing what he's supposed to do, not only burying his rival programs in the sand, but dancing on top of them while he's doing it.
So it sounds like a broken record. I have no issue with what Mario Cristobal did. He's doing the right thing. It's what I would be doing if I was in if Florida was in Miami's shoes right now, undefeated with an opportunity to make a college football playoff on my two in-state rivals, or just circling the toilet. That's what I would be doing. So kudos to Mario Cristobal, to Florida and Florida State and UCF. Get your weight up.